They say love is sweet, like honey dripping from fresh comb. They say it gives you strength, it gives you peace, it makes the whole world feel safe. But what if I told you that the very love you hold onto could also be the knife that cuts deepest into your soul? This is not a story of fairy tales. No. This is a story of Adaora, a young woman whose heart believed too quickly, whose trust became her prison. At first, his voice sounded gentle, his promises were like music, soft, tender, and full of hope. She thought she had found her destiny in Chaik, a man whose smile could calm storms, whose words could melt stone. But behind every smile, sometimes, lies a shadow. Behind every sweet word, sometimes, hides a secret too dark to imagine. The village elders used to say, when the drums beat too sweetly, be careful, for danger often dances to the sweetest tune. Adaora never listened. So I ask you, what would you do? If the person you loved most, the one you trusted with your life, slowly began to destroy it, would you still hold on? Would you still call it love? Or would you call it your ruin? Our story takes place in a small Nigerian village. A place surrounded by tall palm trees, red earth roads, and the endless songs of birds at dawn. Life was simple there, everyone knew each other's name, every family shared their joy and pain, and the elders' words guided every decision. In this village lived a young woman named Adaora. She was gentle, with a heart that believed the best of people. Her dream was simple, to find love, the kind of love that would hold her hand through every storm. She believed in love as though it was the greatest gift life could ever give. But Adaora's mother often warned her, saying, "Daughter, not every smile is from the heart. Not every sweet word is born of truth." Adaora would nod, but inside, she still hoped. She still believed there was a man somewhere whose love was pure. One day, that man seemed to appear. His name was Chaik. Chaik was not born in the village. He arrived suddenly, like the wind that blows before the rain. He carried himself with charm, his clothes finer than the simple wear of the villagers. His smile was warm, his words smooth like palm wine on the tongue. The people whispered about him. Some said he was blessed. Others said he was dangerous, because no one knew where he came from. But to Adaora, he was like a dream come true. From the very first time he spoke to her, Adaora felt her heart surrender. His voice was calm, steady, and his compliments were like a song she had always wanted to hear. He told her she was beautiful, that her laughter was like music, that her eyes carried a light he had never seen before. But not everyone was blind to him. The elders of the village, who had seen many faces and many stories, watched Chaik with suspicion. Old Mama Ngozi, the oldest woman in the village, stopped Adaora one afternoon. Her eyes were sharp, her voice heavy with warning. "Child, love is fire. It can cook your food, but it can also burn your house to the ground. This man, his smile hides too much. Be careful." Adaora only lowered her head and smiled shyly. Her heart was already lost to Chaik. She chose not to hear the warning. What she did not know was that Chaik carried shadows behind his charm. At night, when the village slept, he would walk alone to the big Iroko tree at the edge of the land. There, he would sit in silence, whispering words no one could understand. Some said they heard him speaking to himself. Others feared he was speaking to something unseen. But Adaora was blind to it all. In her eyes, he was everything she had ever wanted. And so, the story began. A young woman, innocent and trusting. A man with a smile too perfect to be true. A village where whispers carried warnings. Love had arrived, but with it came a shadow. At first, love seemed sweet. Chaik showered Adaora with attention. He brought her gifts no one else in the village had ever seen, beads that shone like the morning sun, cloth that felt softer than the wind. He whispered promises that made her heart flutter. He told her she was his word, his only reason to breathe. Adaora's heart was lost. Every time she saw him, she forgot her mother's warnings, she forgot the elders' suspicions. To her, love had finally arrived. But the people of the village whispered. Some said Chike's smile was too perfect. Others said no man gives without asking for something in return. Adaora did not listen. Even her best friend, Nena, tried to warn her. One afternoon, Nena said quietly, "Adaora, I fear for you. You know the saying, the same fire that cooks your yam can also burn your house. Love is sweet, but if it is false, it will destroy you." Adaora only laughed softly and shook her head. "Chike is not like that. He loves me, Nena. You will see." But things soon began to change. Whenever Chike came to the village, strange things seemed to happen. A goat would go missing. A child would fall suddenly ill. A chicken would be found dead at the doorstep of someone's home. People whispered, connecting the events to his visits, but no one dared speak it out loud. Adaora too began to feel unsettled. At night, she started to dream. Dreams filled with shadows moving across her walls, voices crying in the distance, hands reaching out to her from the dark. She would wake up in a cold sweat, her heart racing, but when she told Chike, he only smiled. "Don't worry, my love," he said softly. "It is only your mind playing tricks. As long as you have me, no harm will come to you." But there was something in his eyes, something she could not name. As weeks passed, Chike's love began to change. At first, he praised her beauty, but soon, he began to control her. He told her where to go. He told her who to talk to. He told her she must never speak with other men. "What we share is sacred," he said one night. "If you truly love me, you will obey me." Adaora's heart grew heavy, but she convinced herself it was love. She told herself he was only protecting her. But deep inside, she began to feel trapped. The turning point came one night. The moon was full, lighting the village in silver light. Adaora could not sleep. She noticed that Chike, who had promised to visit her family that evening, was nowhere to be found. Something in her heart told her to rise. Quietly, she stepped out of her home and followed the path toward the edge of the village. Her bare feet pressed against the cool earth as she walked silently. She moved past the palm trees, past the farms, until she reached the old Iroko tree, the place where people whispered Chike often went. And then she saw him. Chike was not alone. He stood in the clearing, his face hidden in the shadows. Around him were three strangers, tall men with their heads covered. The moonlight fell on their hands, and Adaora saw them holding strange objects, calabashes filled with dark liquid, feathers, and something that looked like blood. Her heart froze. Chike lifted his hands as if in greeting, his voice low, speaking words she could not understand. The strangers nodded, their movements slow, almost ritual-like. Adaora's breath caught in her throat. She stepped back quietly, but a dry twig cracked under her foot. The sound echoed in the still night. Chike's head snapped up. His eyes scanned the darkness. Adaora's heart pounded. She pressed her back against the tree, her hands trembling, praying he would not see her. And then, silence. The stranger stopped moving. Chike turned slowly, his eyes sharp, searching the shadows. Adaora's world began to spin. In that moment, she realized the truth. The man she loved was hiding something dark, something dangerous. The question was, had he seen her? The next morning, the village stirred with its usual rhythm. Children ran along the dusty paths, women pounded yam in the courtyards, and men prepared to go to the farms. But for Adaora, nothing felt the same. The image of Chike standing under the Iroko tree, whispering with strangers in the moonlight, would not leave her mind. Her hands trembled as she fetched water from the stream. Her heart beat too quickly each time she heard his name. Yet still, when Chike smiled at her later that day, her fear melted into confusion. Could love truly be this dark? Or was she only imagining things? That evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, the elders gathered at the village square. The oldest of them, Elder Okeke, was a man whose hair was white like cotton and whose voice carried the weight of many years. He had seen seasons of joy and seasons of sorrow. Elder Okeke called Adaora to his side. His eyes were sharp, his voice slow and heavy, as though each word carried a warning. Adaora, my daughter, he said, when the drumbeat changes, the dance must also change. You cannot dance the same steps to a different rhythm. Do you understand me? Adaora lowered her head, confused. Papa, I do not know what you mean. The elder sighed. Long ago, before you were born, there was another young woman. She too thought she had found love. His name was Obina, and his smile was sweet, but his heart was bitter. She gave him her trust, her body, her soul. In the end, she gave him her life. When he left, she was nothing but a shadow, and her family never recovered. The people of this village still remember her story. He paused, his eyes piercing Adaora's. History has a way of repeating itself when lessons are ignored. Adaora shifted uncomfortably. But Elder, Chak is not like that. He loves me. He wants to protect me. I have seen his heart. The elder shook his head slowly. No, child. You have only seen what he allows you to see. Beware, Adaora. Not every embrace is born of love. Sometimes, the arms that hold you are the same arms that will strangle you. Adaora felt her throat tighten. The words cut deep, but her heart resisted them. How could she believe that the man who held her so tenderly was dangerous? How could she accept that the only love she had ever known might be false? That night, she sat awake on her mat, staring at the flickering oil lamp beside her. Elder Okeke's words echoed in her ears, mixing with the memory of the shadowy meeting she had witnessed. Her mind was torn. Was Chak truly her blessing, or was he her curse? The crickets sang outside, the wind whispered against the thatched roof, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked into the night. And in the silence of her heart, a chilling question rose. Was the story of the woman destroyed by love long ago now becoming her story too? The days passed, but Adaora could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. Chak's visits became more frequent, but so did her nightmares. Each night, the shadows grew clearer. Each night, the voices grew louder, crying, pleading, whispering her name. One evening, as the skies rumbled with thunder and lightning flashed across the heavens, Adaora followed her restless spirit. She waited until her family slept, then slipped quietly out of her hut, her bare feet sinking into the damp earth. Her legs trembled as she followed the path she had taken before, past the farms, past the tall grasses, until the old Iroko tree rose before her like a dark giant. And there, beneath the wide branches, she saw them again. Chak stood at the center, his head bowed, his voice low. Around him were the same hooded figures, their hands lifted, their voices chanting words Adaora could not understand. She pressed her back against a tree, her heart pounding like a drum. This time, she stayed longer, forcing herself to watch. Her eyes widened as she noticed a calabash placed before Chak, filled with blood and feathers. One of the strangers handed him a small carving, an image of a woman. Adaora squinted through the shadows, and her blood froze. The carving had her face. Adaora's hand flew to her mouth to stop a scream. The leader of the group spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. She is ready. The girl trusts you. Soon, the sacrifice will be complete. Then, wealth and power will be yours, Chak. Adaora's words spun. Her body went cold. Her Chak, the man she loved, was part of a secret group that fed on love, that used women as offerings for wealth and power. And she was the next one. Adaora stumbled backward, and a twig snapped under her foot. The chanting stopped. The hooded men turned their heads sharply. Chike froze. Slowly, he raised his eyes, and they met hers in the darkness. Adaora, he whispered. The men hissed, but Chike lifted his hand to silence them. His face softened, his voice filled with false sweetness. My love, don't be afraid. He stepped closer, his arms outstretched. Everything I do for us. For love. Don't you see? This man, this ritual, it is the path to a better life. With this sacrifice, nothing will ever harm us again. You will be mine forever. Adaora shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Chike, what have you done? What are you saying? He reached for her, his eyes burning with intensity. Listen to me. Every man you admire, every rich household you see, they all paid a price. This is the way of power. Do not fear, my Adaora. All you must do is give yourself. For me. For us. Adaora's breath came in sharp gasps. Her chest tightened as the truth crashed over her like a storm. Chike was not protecting her. He was not loving her. He was preparing her for death. The realization struck her heart like lightning. She was the next sacrifice. Her legs trembled, her body frozen between fear and flight. The hooded men moved closer, their chanting rising again, the night air thick with dread. Chike's voice cut through the storm. Choose, Adaora. Will you surrender to me willingly, or will you run from the love that was meant to save you? The thunder roared above. The Iroko tree swayed in the violent wind. Adaora's heart beat wildly, her mind screaming only one question. Would she escape, or would she surrender? The night grew heavier. Thunder roared like the voice of angry gods. The chanting of the hooded men filled the clearing, their words rising and falling like waves on the sea. Adaora's breath shook as she stared at Chike. The man who once whispered love into her ear now stood before her with arms outstretched, asking her to give her life. She whispered, her voice breaking, Chike, please, stop this. Leave them. Leave all of this. We can run away, we can start again. You don't need their power. You don't need my blood. For a moment, Chike's face softened. His eyes glistened as if he too was caught in a storm of conflict. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. My Adaora, you don't understand. I did all this because of you. I wanted the world to bow before us. I wanted wealth, power, respect. They told me I must give the one I love most. But I swear, I can change. I can stop. Adaora's chest tightened. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to cling to the Chike who once made her laugh under the mango tree, the Chike who said her eyes carried stars. But deep inside, a voice whispered, the same hands that hold you can also strangle you. Her legs moved on their own. Suddenly, Adaora turned and ran. She dashed into the forest, her white wrapper brushing against thorns, her bare feet tearing against roots and stones. Her screams cut through the night air, carrying across the village. Help me. Somebody help me. People woke from their sleep, rushing outside with lanterns in hand. They heard the cries echoing through the forest, but the night was too dark, the storm too fierce. Some shouted her name, others prayed aloud, but fear held them back from running into the forest. Behind her, Chike's voice thundered like the storm. Adaora. Stop. You cannot run from me. Everything I did for love. But his footsteps followed. He was faster, stronger, his shadow stretching across the trees as he chased her. Adaora stumbled, falling hard onto the damp ground. Pain shot through her leg, but she forced herself to rise. She could see flickers of firelight in the distance, villagers carrying torches. If she could just reach them, maybe she could be saved. But before she could take another step, a strong hand gripped her arm. It was Chike. His eyes were wild now, his voice trembling with rage and sorrow. You should have trusted me, Adaora. You should have given yourself freely. Now you leave me no choice. Adaora's tears flowed like rain. Please, Chike, if you ever loved me, don't do this. Don't let me be the price you pay. But Chike's grip only tightened. He pulled her close, his voice low and cold. The lizard that nods its head does not mean it is smiling. What you see on my face is not joy, Adaora. It is the mask of duty. And tonight, duty must be done. The hooded men surrounded them, their chants shaking the forest. Chike lifted the calabash high, his other hand pressed against Adaora's trembling body. And then silence. The forest grew quiet. The storm passed. The villagers searched until morning, but Adaora was never seen again. Only her necklace lay in the dust, the last piece of her innocence. The village mourned. Mothers warned their daughters, fathers looked at their sons with worry, and the elders shook their heads in sorrow. They knew the truth, Adaora had been destroyed by the very love she thought would save her. Her story became a warning, told from one generation to the next. And whenever a young woman spoke of a man too perfect, too charming, the elders would whisper, "Remember Adaora, and choose wisely." She thought it was love, but it was a destruction. For love without truth is nothing but poison. Love that blinds the eyes and silences the heart is not love, it is a trap. As the elders say, not everyone who dances with you wishes you well. And so ends the story of Adaora. A story of love, trust, and betrayal. A story that reminds us that not every smile is pure, and not every embrace is safe. What do you think? Was Adaora a victim of her own blind love, or was she simply caught in the hands of fate? Share your thoughts below, and remember, more stories like this await you here. Until next time, stay watchful, for even the sweetest song can hide a deadly silence.